Today's video is sponsored by you. If you like what I do here on the channel and you are planning to try Vocenotes, please use my affiliate link, vladcampos.com/VN. Voice Notes. Did you get it? And of course, you can also buy me a coffee. vladcampos.com/coffee. Okay, let's do it. Hello, Jijo. Thank you for being here with us today.
Hey, Vlad. Thank you for having me.
Look, I love that you guys are being so transparent about the voice notes numbers and statistics. So I would like to ask you, what's the current note-taking number? Note-takers numbers.
I think it's just over 23,000 note takers as of today.
Congrats, man. It's a pretty cool app. I'm enjoying it a lot. One thing I tried to do was stalk you online. I couldn't find a lot of information. Can you share a little bit with us? Who is Jijo?
Absolutely, Vlad. So I grew up in this beautiful place called Kerala in India. And I grew up sort of building stuff as well. So I started building when I was very young. I built an ad network when I was 12 or 15 or something. I don't know. It was 2010. And the launch date was 10/10/10. I remember that much.
Oh, that's cool.
It was very fancy. Yeah. Anyway, it lasted for like a full 6 months before I had to shut it down.
Oh.
Because I lost all my money and I was young, I guess. And I didn't go near a computer for another 12 months. It was a traumatic experience when I was like 15 or something. Anyway, it was fun. That was I think my first proper project, but I did a bunch of things after that, including one of the popular ones is a Chrome extension called What Runs. So What Runs lets you quickly check the tech stack of any website. So you can see X website is built with X and Y.
Oh.
This JavaScript framework or Google AdSense and the bones of that website, which was very fascinating to see. So it went viral on Hacker News and Product 10, and that was my first getting a taste of a product going viral. And I think it was back in 2016 or something, so like 8 years ago. Yeah.
And then where did Buy Me a Coffee came from?
Oh yeah, so Watrons didn't make any money. Neither did any of my other projects really. I did make a ton of money from my blogs about SEO and being a webmaster, running your website, and all sorts of things. I sold ebooks on these forums, right? Back in the days, you had tons of forums where you could sell things, and there was this forum called Warrior Forum, which had this section called WSO. I don't know what
what it stands for.
What it stands for, I don't remember, but people could go there and sell stuff, and the price would increase as people would buy it. And I remember selling ebooks, and I would make like $15,000 or something, and I was super young. So I would do things like that, but none of my products really made any money until Buy Me a Coffee. And it was in 2017. I was in the UK, and I used my rent money to buy this domain, Buy Me a Coffee. It was like £1,600 or something. So really meaningful amount of money for me. And it was supposed to be one feature of this other thing that I was building. And at one point I was like, fuck this shit. And I was going to build this this little module and make it a project. Because I've been doing blogs all my life, and I've seen Buy Me a Beer buttons and Buy Me a Coffee buttons all over blogs with links to PayPal. So I thought it could use some change, some creativity, make it less transactional, make it more fun, and also help more people get that taste of that first dollar online. I think that's life-changing. For me, it was. Even if it was like $5 or $1 even. My first payment was $1 on my PayPal account, which I couldn't even withdraw because I lived in India, and they don't even send that money to you. Oh, there's this other network who sent me a check for $2 all the way from the US to India with a check of $2. I couldn't even withdraw. The company is AdBright, by the way. It's an ad network, which I don't think exists anymore. Anyway, back to Buy Me a Coffee. So there's, that's how I started.
I love those click moments. Something just clicks, and you know that's the direction of. And then where did your brother came into this situation? You were already working together because he's your partner, right?
Yeah, yeah. He was always with me, right? He's my brother. He's like 2 years younger than me. So I think he started when he was like 14, 15 years old. So he missed ad Indigo, the ad network that I did, but he missed Watrons as well. But he started working with me before Buy Me a Coffee. So we were like
Oh,
together when we started Buy Me a Coffee. Yes.
I see.
Hmm.
And what about now? You keeping voice notes only with your wife, or is he involved too?
He's involved in everything that I do.
You
He
know,
helped me with the design, so yeah, he has a
I
share as
have
well.
something to the end about Mastodon. He replied one of my emails. I'm going back and forth with him, but we'll get there.
All right.
Let's talk a little bit about voice notes. I watched your videos again. I love your transparency, and I guess it was in the first one you mentioned that you had this idea for a while, and one thing that you were missing was the transcription, not transcription, but it was hard to find information when you record the notes with the nurse and the doctors. But transcription already existed. So what was the real reason? Why did you want it? Is the timeline what it
Yeah,
is?
I looked at my notes. So I started thinking about this in 2023 March. So about a year and 3 months ago, that's when I had my first note. And no, there wasn't a simple way to record a note and see the transcription. Can you think of any? Can you think of anything off the top of your head?
Yeah,
Uh,
Google
So
has that, for example, the Google the
I use
record.
iPhone, so
Oh,
I
okay.
probably don't have access to that app. I did hear that Samsung has this app which
Samsung
has
has it too. And I
transcription.
guess there is another, I don't remember it now, that does that too. But the Google Recorder does that for a while now. And I don't use it because it's
Right.
just a recorder, but it does that.
Yeah, but even if we had it, the question is, can I ask it something and can it pull it
Okay.
up results that are semantically relevant as well? If I ask it about like, hey, what sports did I enjoy last month? Can it show me the football or Premier League reference or Manchester United note that I took like a month ago? That was the needle moving stuff that I wanted after I saw ChatGPT, right? But you're right, it wasn't just about transcription. It was about this having this AI friend who I
Okay.
can talk to, make sense of my notes, and super easy way to capture that delights me or that is super simple for me to use. I miss that, and I tried everything. I tried everything. I looked up I tried all the apps on Google. Couldn't find anything that
Okay.
both Aleesha and I could use myself. Yeah.
Something that I'm finding really interesting about AI is that some people, not everybody, but some people would start watching YouTube videos because they didn't want to read uh, tutorials or they just want to tell they are. Okay, let me just understand this. And now we have all these things transcribing the videos and people are going back to reading. But that's crazy for but
Yeah.
I have a problem with that, and I would like to listen to your thoughts on that. So when we are talking here, and when we are recording something, I think it's more chaotic because we have to connect as we talk. We have to connect the ideas as we talk. But when we are writing, I think it's more structured, and we can go back and fix that sentence and make things better. So I think writing is a much better way to have a more understandable idea and you even talked about that you love your ramblings on
Yeah. Yeah.
on
Yeah.
one of your videos. But how is that on your mind? Because you are transcribing chaotic ideas. Are you relying on AI to find everything and organize everything?
That's a good point, and you sort of explained the creator side of it. And let me um, sort of argue for the viewer side of it. And for the viewer side, I think videos are more like entertainment. Like
Uh-huh.
there's this tech podcast called All In Podcast. I don't watch it for not really for the information. I just watch it for the
For fun.
banter, like yeah, for fun, to enjoy it. So I think if people start using the transcript of every video and sort of that's like distilling the information. They really want to get the information, not to enjoy the video. Enjoy is more like performance, I guess. I mean, sorry,
Uh-huh.
videos are more like performance. So that's how I view it as a viewer. But with regards to note taking, I really like the action of having an idea or a word or a concept or something that I want to do, and being able to capture that in the next 5 seconds. And it's
Hmm.
impossible to do that with writing, I guess, because I've
Yes,
been not taking for
you're right.
the last all my life every day for many hours, but capturing voice, I think,
Okay.
wins with flying colors, and that's where I think voice comes in. But I agree that long rambling doesn't feel great to read later. That's
Uh-huh.
why I have this philosophy on voice notes where I say, try to keep your notes shorter and try to take more notes.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's more
So,
my
but
philosophy for
you
note
still
taking.
think that AI can kind of organize that if when you ask a question?
Absolutely, for
Okay,
sure.
okay. That's
Yeah.
your thought there. Yeah, I've been using it just like that because I run and I walk a lot and I have this crazy ideas out of nowhere. And before I was always remember this, try to remember this. Let me repeat. I kept rehearsing everything and okay, when I get home, I can sit down or if I can type it on my phone. So now I set my Android to double tap and open voice notes and all I have to do is double tap the back and I just record. For this interview, I did that because
Wow.
I was having all those ideas and I was just, I only made sure that I was telling it that it was for this conversation because I wanted to then use the related notes to filter all the notes and then write my ideas. But when I read that, it's crazy. When I read the transcripts, oh my God, your brain is so crazy, so messy.
By the way, we shipped the related notes just last week.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you are finding it useful.
Yeah, I was not thinking about it because I was recording it before, but when I saw that, I said, okay,
Okay.
this might even be better because now I can just see, and it worked. It got all the thoughts I recorded and created just showed me, and then I copy and paste everything and organize those crazy ideas. I feel like you guys nailed. I don't know if you know this because I don't know your age, but I used this in the past. Those mini cassette recorders, the ones
Mm,
the autopsy guys would
yeah.
record something, the detectives and the writers. I used one of those. It was
Wow.
great to capture ideas, but it was a mess to find the ideas, mess to
Why
find.
did you use that for? Because I still find those best-selling on Amazon. Someone is using it. Do you know?
No, for me it didn't work. But my father, for example, I remember him kind of writing a letter because when we couldn't do that, he was a professor and he has this a secretary who would type the letters. And when we were on vacations, he would write an entire letter on that. That's crazy. And he would ship the tape to the secretary, and then
Right.
someone would type that, and that's a great use. I think that's
Yeah.
a great use. But for what I was doing, and even the guys doing the autopsy or in the detectives,
Medical profession.
I
It's
think
big.
it's
It's
good
big. Yeah.
because
Hmm.
it's a whole line of thought. It's not just quick ideas that you're just, and that's what I was doing, and
Yeah.
that didn't work because where is that? How can I go back and you guys did it because now I have that fixing the problem that I had back then, which was where is the information? I have to listen to
Exactly.
all this tape, rewind everything. And there was another problem. If you rewind the tape, you can make the mistake of recording over it if you don't get it to the right point to the end of
Mm.
the recorded part, you can override that. So
I'm so glad I'm young enough to not having to deal with that problem anymore.
that
But
didn't work for me at all. I bought one. It was super expensive. The tapes were
yeah.
expensive, and man, that was such a terrible experience. And I watched all these movies and people. This most even Doc Brown in Back to the Future had this giant tape recorder. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, yeah,
He was
yeah,
recording everything that happened to Marty, and so but that never worked for me.
yeah.
But now I can do it.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. I don't know if you have watched our backstory video of
Yeah.
my wife and me explaining why we decided to build this. And it really struck us when we were talking to this nurse or a midwife, several meetings, and they would condense a ton of information into
Hmm.
5-minute calls, right? and we couldn't write it down. And I used voice memo, and we were like seeking back and forth to find the exact information, which department to go to, what is the reason for X and Y, what we should do in these meanwhile, preparing for surgery, X and Y. There's a lot of information that 3-4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like when we were like, we should have something better than, voice memos.
So you recorded that on a regular recorder?
Yes.
Just an
We
app?
used a separate phone to record on voice memos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes all of. And have you tried putting that into voice notes and asking questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we did. We started using it in December, and we have been using it ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, I have to ask you this because we all watched Apple but announce all those AI features. What are your thoughts? Are you losing sleep at night?
Nah, not at all. I think the best thing about voice notes was that we had little pressure on us, right? Like there's no outside investors or revenue targets or milestones, we just want to build something that we really enjoy, and my friends enjoy, and our users enjoy, and so less pressure on us. But with regards to Apple releasing a bunch of stuff, it looked better. Siri looked good for the first time in its history. Yeah. So that's promising. And we all use Apple device, right? So it's good that it's getting better. But if you're asking with regards to voice notes, my initial reaction is always, there's already an Apple Notes, but we use Bear app and other great note-taking apps, and there's a place for that. So I think even if they come out with something really good, or integrate transcription into voice memos and make it really good with AI, even then there'll be a place for voice notes, because we do so many things so well for a small segment of users who really care about note-taking, and we're building on top of that. And I don't think Apple would even want to build many other things that we are building or have on our roadmap. So yeah,
I love that you guys are keeping things simple. I think that's it. Just this taking notes and then seeing them together, the related note is already, I don't know, it blew my mind. It took me, because it took me in the past more time to reorganize all the ideas, because I would take notes everywhere, and then I can now just record that was great. So talking about roadmaps, and can you share something that you have in mind for the future?
Yeah, for sure. So I know that you use Obsidian a lot. Like, you're big on Obsidian, right? I saw your videos.
Yeah.
And I use something that is similar to that, which is called ROM Research.
Okay.
I don't know and I've been using it for many hours a day for years. So there are things that I really enjoy using it for. For example, when I start a book, I write something down, and then I go deep on that book. And so instead of one big chunk of note, it's like separate notes, nested under that main title or note. So we want to be able to do that with voice notes as well, where you start recording saying, hey, I started reading Bible, and then take the next note, which is under that note. It's a sub note. We are calling it sub notes, where you go deep into, you come across a verse that you enjoy, take that note down. So it's like, if you want to go back to that experience of reading Bible of yours, you will see the entire thing, as opposed to just one note, which is a big rambling. You will see many. So sub notes is something that we are working on right now.
So it's a connection, but that the user created. It's a relation, but created by the user.
Correct. Yeah. Everything is user created, unless
no,
AI.
I mean the AI is putting together the related notes.
Yeah, correct.
It's kind of that, but the user is already putting the notes below the parent note.
They're adding a voice note to another voice note.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's great. You were talking about the book the other day. This is another experiment I did. I was reading a paper book, which is not something I do all the time, but I was in the subway, and then I was reading, and I saw the sentence. I said, "Oh, this is pretty cool." And then I on a Kindle, I would just highlight it, and that's it. And then I would export the highlights, and that's okay. But now I have this paper book. If I use my pen or pencil, this is gonna disappear. So I recorded the sentence on voice notes, and okay, that was great because I had that. But then I tried the blog. It was like, I don't know, 10 words, 12 words. But then I tried the blog, create a blog, and that blew my mind. I said, how come AI creates such a complex blog post based on a simple
Still
sentence?
live.
It's so interesting. So I think that that feature will be cool too, because if I'm reading that book, I can keep adding those sentences that I
Exactly.
like
Right.
to voice note.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's one. We are also bringing in attachments because we noticed that people,
Oh,
just like your example, right? Like people want to take screenshots. They take screenshots of everything. I do too. Like if I come across something, a really good table on Pinterest that I really like, I would just want to take a screenshot and put it somewhere where I can search. So uh, I think nearly half of my Rome research notes are like basically screenshots of the designs that I like, things that I see, sort of thing. So we want to be able to let people do that with attachments. So I guess you can tell that I'm basically building this for myself. Like
okay. That's
what
the best way
what
to
I'm
do it.
yeah, what I'm missing on voice note is what I'm building. I know many of our users are going to listen to this, but we really don't give the same weight to outside feedback as much as what Aleesha and I would personally use.
Okay.
Because the thing is, I think for a good product, I think it's important to have one central vision and an end-to-end vision. And for that, it's you have to do you have to say more no's than yeses. By that I
Yes.
mean you have to reject a ton of features to get it right, get it simple, get those defining qualities of a product is from the no's than the yeses, right?
Yes.
So, so yeah, so there's
But
that.
but but in the end, you are like a lot of people because you're a human. Like you said, you read
Exactly,
books. You want to take picture of a table. So we all have this. So even if you are building it for you, you end up building it for a lot of people.
exactly. That's the point, really. So if your frame of building a product is by looking at what exists out there and then build something better than that, I think that is much worse than sort of building what you really, really need, not looking at what is out there. Because when we started Voice Notes, there were a few transcription apps out there. The best thing that we did was to not look at them. I didn't even try them. I'm not going to name them because some of them are my friends, but we didn't even look at them. And we involved a designer later on the stage, and he was like, should we research, go look at them and maybe take ideas? I was like, no, never do that. Don't even look at them because we don't want to make the same mistakes that they made.
Hmm.
Just build what we find useful for ourselves and just go from there. So one clear example is all of the tools out there before voice notes. Once the voice is transcribed, they would convert it to a summary or a to-do list. That was the default
Okay.
thing with them. Whereas with voice notes, it was important for us that it should appear as it is,
Okay.
whatever I said, and then you convert it to a blog post or whatever it is. But the human creation or your creation is it's the main thing. It should be what is displayed, not the AI. AI should go in the background, and it's a tool at your disposal whenever you need it or
Uh-huh.
want to make use of. But none of the tools had that. Everything would convert it to a summary,
Okay.
and I didn't like looking at my summary of my train of
And
thoughts.
it can make it wrong, right? It
Yeah,
doesn't make it right
absolutely.
all the time. The AI is not that smart.
Yet,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
And this you are messing up my script here because I had that suggestion, but I'll get there, the picture thing. But we are talking a lot of AI, and voice notes is heavily based on AI. So I would love you to talk a little bit about privacy. What is your approach to that, just to make people more relaxed about that?
To make people more relaxed, I
Is it
can say
possible?
that. No, I can say that my wife and I are using it for our most personal needs. And we designed the voice notes in a way that even we cannot access it. So there's only one DevOps person who has to have access to the database to upgrade it, improve it, and sort of that. And he's under contract. And that's how other companies like Otter.ai sort of does it as well. Their CTO has access to the DB, no one else. So I can't even read your notes. And my wife and I use it for our most personal needs. And we designed the system in a way that we will have to hire people, the backend engineers and
Okay.
others, to the team, and they shouldn't be able to read my notes.
Oh,
So we designed it in a way. And then there's the fundamental question of how OpenAI or Anthropic um, uh, deal with the privacy implications. How true are they to their words? So one way we do that is we don't do any other. We rely on the most trustworthy providers. That is Anthropic and OpenAI. We don't experiment with new models or
okay.
new hosting services or other to reduce costs. Like I've seen with almost all the other AI products out there, no qualms, but it's just that Vocenotes is much more confidential and private that it requires that sense of privacy for you to use it. So I don't sort of experiment with
Okay.
models. I use the best ones. I pay for it, and as you can see, even Apple is using OpenAI. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, there's this one angle of trusting OpenAI and Anthropic. But I think if you don't do that, then you can't use the best AI models. You're
Hmm.
using ChatGPT and other things, and they
Okay.
have the best models. There's
So
no open source hosted way to do it.
when you
Yeah.
say, although they are called OpenAI, when
Yeah.
you say trust, uh, they how I don't really understand how is the relation between them and the partners. So you have a different. Is there a way to create a contract where they don't read, don't use? How that
Oh, they
work?
don't use it.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're using the API, they don't use it for their training. They don't use it for anything else. It's
Okay.
completely private because companies like, let's say, Box, who manages enterprise documents, is using OpenAI.
Okay.
So they made it so that the people who use API, the companies who use and pay for API, their data won't be trained or used by OpenAI or Anthropic. So
Okay. I see. Okay. That's cool. Let's talk about my suggestions, my messed up script. So the picture thing, I was thinking more in lines of I was talking about this with a friend the other day. We were discussing ways to capture book covers for future reading. I was thinking more on that. Just take a picture of a book or whatever, a table, like you said. But the blog platform I use does this very great thing. It creates the alt text, the HTML alt text. The AI does that, and I love that because I find it so hard to describe something, and I know that that's important for people that don't see because the computer will read describe the image, and I love that they do that. So and they do that very well. Sometimes there's a mistake here and there, but most of the time the description is great. So what I was thinking is maybe I take a picture of a table or a book or whatever it is, and just like you are doing with the voice, maybe
yeah,
transcribe it, describing the image, and that would end up being searchable. That would end up being connected to other notes and things like that. How do you see that?
it's a great idea. It is strange that we didn't think about doing it for our V1. We are gonna do it, Vlad. Thanks for the feedback. Because I only know the tech exists out there. You can send it out
Yeah,
using
it
Vision
works.
or either basic OCR or actually use AI to make sense of
Yeah,
the
it's
image.
not exactly OCR.
Yeah.
The one I use, it's embedded in my blogging platform. It describes everything. So this is a table. This is a brown table. There's a font on top of it. Things like that. And it's a very short sentence, and it
Mm,
describes it very well. And I love that because I don't have to do it, and I know how important that is. I always
that is
struggle with
great
it.
idea.
Yeah. Oh,
I already have so many ideas how to show this because maybe when people hover over that image that they attached, we will show that one liner or two liner. And when they ask AI, we will show the results based on that as well. We'll do that. We'll do that next week.
there's this app called Vocenotes. You can record that idea there.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, I have a audience suggestion. Some people wrote to me asking, and I think that makes total sense because you guys have the title of the note and the date, but there's no hourly timeline because the notes are chronologically ordered, but it would be nice to see this was midday, this was 12. You think that's something that
True.
is
No,
used?
no, absolutely. We had that on the V1 version, but like I said, we wanted to simplify things, make it more, give it more white space,
Mm-hmm.
make it feel like a blank page when you open your voice notes, just your thoughts. That's it. nothing, less computer generated
Mm-hmm.
stuff going on there. And it's very intentional. People would be like, hey, how did voice note succeed? Because it's just a plain text page. The landing page has no
It's
images in it.
great. The design is
It's very
great.
simple. Yeah, but the thing is, it took us so so much more time than even buy me a coffee to design that page, the voice notes landing page, because it's much harder to simplify things,
Uh-huh. It
to get
is.
so much information into like 5 sentences or something, right? So yeah, we removed the timestamp, but we have plans to bring it back. The idea is to maybe when you hover the play icon, that's when we'll show the length of the voice, which we don't right
Oh,
now,
okay.
as well as the time that you sort of recorded it, captured it, as well as having this little player when you play it. Right now, you can't see to the middle if you want to listen to it. Most people don't even listen to their voice notes, by the way. They just read it,
Yeah.
just FYI. So, but if they want to, we'll show a player which they can see, can do all that stuff, sort
Yeah,
of
some
stuff.
people that
So
ask me, they are using it as a journal, so they find it interesting to see the timestamp, so they can, okay, yesterday
mm,
I did this, I did that, and just to see the title and go through
good
their
one.
day. So that and I thought, oh, this is interesting because although it's in chronological order, it would be nice to know when this happened. Yeah.
That's a good one, Vlad. I'll sit on the design today, and if we find something that's really good, we will ship it next week with the attachment descriptions as well.
Okay, now I have a question. Maybe there's some UI UX thing here that I'm not seeing, but the ask button, I had to train myself to use it right because the record button, if I tap record, I can start recording. But the ask, so many times I tap ask and ask something, and then you have to tap again to actually ask. So why is that? Why not just tap ask and just ask the question?
You can actually.
Ah,
So
I
we
can?
just shipped it last week. You can actually record a voice note and ask questions, and you get back in voice as well.
No, I mean, if I tap the ask button,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
then have to tap the microphone to ask, to
Oh,
talk.
yeah. Right, right, right. You have to tap another.
So
Yeah,
I did it so many
two
times. I tap
taps.
ask and start talking to the phone,
Oh,
and
okay.
nothing happened. To say,
Interesting.
oh, what's going on here? Oh, I have to tap the microphone. So I don't know if
Hmm.
I'm doing something wrong, but because the record is just one tap, I don't know. My brain thinks that the ask is one tap too, and
That is very interesting.
many times I
It'll
do
be
this.
much, it'll be much cooler if it was this one tap and it starts
Yeah,
recording your question.
just
Yeah.
I did that so many
But
times.
yeah, the people still, like half of the users still type their
Yeah, I
questions in.
saw that. Yeah,
So
I thought that was the
yeah,
reason. Yeah,
yeah. But that'll be much cooler. We should try that.
maybe a
We'll
setting,
try that instead.
maybe a
Yeah.
setting. Just ask or I don't know. But maybe other people are doing that mistake too. I was just recording nothing. No, nobody was listening,
Mm.
and I still do it from time to time because it's so intuitive. Just ask the question. It's nothing being asked.
Yeah, can I ask you something? Do you record all of your notes in English, or do you use other languages as well?
Yeah, yeah, I'm a Portuguese speaker first, but everything I do online, I do in English. All my notes, everything I do in English because I like to train that. And I started doing this a long time ago because I've been using the internet for so long, and the the first informations that we could find online were in English. So I always
Mm.
set my computers to English. Everything, my phone is in English because I think it's a much broader audience and much more people searching and trying. So if I ask something in English, I'll get that easier. So to this day, I do everything in English. But I have a friend. He was, in fact, he's the one with the journal idea, the timestamp. He's recording in
Hmm.
Portuguese, and I did some tests in Portuguese, and it worked. But he's getting the titles in English. I don't know why.
Yeah. That was frustrating, and we changed that last week as well. So he should be getting titles in his
Okay.
own languages going forward, and for the create functions as well. So back like 2 weeks ago, people would have Chinese voice and they would create a blog post, and blog post would be in English. That
Okay.
was frustrating, right? But we changed that. We honor the original language,
Okay.
which is cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't notice the title. I was just just trying things and recording and it worked. And I didn't notice the title. Maybe my brain doesn't even know the difference. There are some words, this thing is so crazy. There are some words that I switch
Mm.
when I'm writing on one language or on the other. and I don't even notice it. When I'm reading again, I see the word on the other language. There are some words that I do this. I don't know. My brain is so crazy.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's so crazy that that happens. Okay, I have a last question that has nothing to do with. It's not specific about voice notes, but you and your brother, and I told you I was exchanging some emails with him about Mastodon, about the Fediverse, and things like that. I noticed that you guys are really into Twitter. Buy Me a Coffee has the tweet. Now Voice Notes has the tweet, and I see the Fediverse as this much opener space where people can there's so much. I have all these ideas that I want to write to him and explain to him, but I would love to, and by the way, a lot of people that support me on Buy Me a Coffee are Fediverse users. They cannot tweet that they bought me a coffee. So I would like to know if you guys think about that, or if what are your thoughts on the Fediverse?
I personally don't know enough about it
Okay.
to comment on that. I should look into it. I'll look into it.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't know enough. And I'll talk to my
Because
brother about it as well. Yeah.
yeah, one of the ideas I plan to suggest him is the Fediverse is this. Of course, you know what is RSS, right? So
Yeah.
think of it as an RSS that you can go back and forth. So we can, all the feeds will interact, and if I comment something, the other person will see it. For example, as if like Twitter and Instagram were connected. So if I'm a Twitter user, I could see your Instagram pictures, and not only that, I could comment on your picture and you see that comment on Instagram. So that's the Fediverse. So everything is connected because there is this user that I can follow anyone that is using a Fediverse account, Mastodon, and so many others. Flipboard now, Medium, a lot of them are joining. So what I think about a tool like Buy Me a Coffee is I imagine that feed as a Fediverse feed where anyone could follow me, comment, and maybe it would be a private feed for people that are supporting me and an open feed for anyone on the web. So nobody would need to go to Buy Me a Coffee. I know that that's not good, but in the end, it creates more engagement because I would be able to reply to a post on Buy Me a Coffee using my own username from the service I'm using. For example,
Interesting.
if you had a Buy Me a Coffee Fediverse feed and compatible with ActivityPub, I could use, for example, Mastodon and follow that feed, and not only follow that feed, follow the people I'm following, and I could reply. I would see that on my Mastodon feed, and I would be able to reply to that, and that reply would end up right
Showing
there,
up on Buy Me a Coffee as well.
showing on,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's
The big tech isn't gonna like that. Anyway,
I have I have more engagement on Mastodon than on Twitter because
really
the universe is so big.
interesting.
People
Okay.
can follow you from anywhere, and now Threads is embarking on that. The blogging system I use is also compatible with ActivityPub, so I can follow people on my feed, on the admin part of my blogging system. It is an ActivityPub compatible blog, so I can follow, reply, and people who follow me, when they reply, they see the post on Mastodon wherever they are, and their reply show up as a comment on my blog.
That's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
totally. That's great. Yeah. No, it's interesting that you said that. We are working on this updates feature on but we are working on it. Buy Me a Coffee 3.0, by the way. It's a summer release. It's going to pack a ton of features. It's going to come out in like 2 months, I think. Anyway, we're working on this updates thingy, which is like a simple way for creators to send updates and even send it as an email sort of thing, instead of using posts, which is like high heavyweight sort of thing, right? Anyway, we'll look into this thing while we are building or designing updates feature. This is really interesting. It's interesting that you are seeing more engagement there. I wasn't expecting that because My 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 take was that only a small group of really
There's
nerdy
a
people
lot
are
of
using
people
it.
there. For example, many companies are there. Flipboard is there. Mastodon is already very big, and then there
Yeah,
is Medium. WordPress has this plugin. The blogging platform I use is much smaller, but everyone that uses it has a Fediverse.
Medium is using it.
Yeah, Medium is using it. I
Right.
didn't I didn't try it because this is a lot of impossible to deal with rabbit holes if you go into all of them. But I know
Absolutely.
that they are doing it. And Threads, for example, I'm Threads has these stages. They are now letting us follow Threads people on ActivityPub accounts. So I follow some
Okay.
people from Threads. But if I reply, the reply is not posted there, but it will be posted there. And another thing about Fediverse accounts that they usually let you move to another service, bringing all your followers. And I
Yeah.
did that once. It's pretty cool. I can move all the
Mhm.
followers to another service. I think
No,
it's great.
I get that traction as well. Like if you think about it, I've been like I said, I've been blogging for 17 years at this point. The one thing that stays with the creator is just their email list at this point. Everything else sort of leaves to the algorithm. So back then you had Facebook, which was doing well. At some point
Mm-hmm.
they messed it all up. They prioritized pages. Then there was Twitter, a bunch of algorithms. But at the end of the day, you just have your email list or something, right?
Yeah.
Which is very reliable. So this is more like that. You have your followers. It's your asset.
Yes. And I can
Yeah,
use my account, my username anywhere.
yeah.
I can reply and I can get replies. And if I'm not happy with that username, I can move to another one and bring
Mhm.
the followers with me. Like I said, I did that, and it's pretty cool. You just bring everybody. But look, I'm having more engagement because I think the Mastodon and the Fediverse is heavily relies very heavily on hashtags. And when I
Mm.
use a hashtag, a lot of people reply. But of course, if a person has a lot of followers on Twitter, Facebook, Thread, it's not gonna be the same.
Okay.
The engagement is much bigger on these other platforms. But I mean, for small people, and I think that's one of the Buy Me a Coffee target publics. You have these small creators also, and they. I've been telling this to a lot of people. Try the Fediverse. The engagement is so good because people are having conversations like Twitter was in the beginning. People are
Mm.
having this cool conversations, back and forth conversations. It's more like conversations and not personalities or it's we are having this conversation. So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I'm not telling you to abandon Twitter, just to give some thought on.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. No, the dynamic is so different than 15 years ago. Now it's more like even if you're shit posting, it's still a performance art where you're trying to impress 10,000 people or
Yeah.
nothing sort of situation.
and, and
Yeah.
and that's okay. Some people like or need that, but I'm more
Mm.
into conversations, and I engage. And even when I engage, when I start a conversation, when I see something, people tend to reply, and it's pretty cool. You have these conversations there. So this is what I'm calling engagement, real engagement. You're having.
Mm.
It's not that I'm having I don't know, 1,000 followers and likes. And there's also this, for example, my platform, the platform I use, doesn't
Mm.
show me likes or retweets, anything like that, because it's more interested in uh, the interactions. So
Mm.
each platform can also, the like is there, if someone likes it, but I can't see it. I can even see or post the number of followers I have. I don't see
Mm.
them. Nobody sees it. So it's a different approach. It's more based on conversation and interaction. So it depends on the platform.
That's a good one. Vlad, can I ask you a quick question without wasting your time?
No, no, you're not wasting my
Um,
time. We're having a
if you had
great
a script, we are
conversation.
already,
I'm
we are
worried
already.
about your time. You have an app to build, two apps to build.
Right. So we were designing this thing called Publish for voice notes, where you can create your own little page on voice notes, sort of like voicenotes.com/Vlad or
Uh-huh.
something, and you would publish your voice notes
Okay.
for your people to see. Uh, and I was wondering, would you would you use that one? And I, while you were talking about not having likes and views and everything, and just having engagements, that was our thinking as well. When we evolve and build comments on top of it, we would not show these likes and views, just have
Comments.
replies,
Hmm.
just show the replies, and then you reply to it, so that every single interaction is meaningful, not vanity
Hmm.
metrics. Anyway, if you have any thoughts on that, and whether you would use the publish itself, because voice notes is currently a single player thing, very
Mm-hmm.
private.
Mm-hmm.
The dynamic would change a lot if you're doing this thing. We still haven't decided on doing it, but we are
Okay.
designing, and I would personally use it. I would want to maybe wake up and share my thoughts about, let's say, Apple's new AI
Mm-hmm.
features today morning, and this would
And
be the
then post
easiest,
it.
most fun
Yeah.
way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think if you're, me personally, at this moment, I wouldn't do it because I already
Mhm.
have a blogging platform that is connected to the Fediverse, and I love that. So that's
Mhm.
technically speaking why I wouldn't use it. But I think the idea is very good, and I would
Mhm.
tell you, please create it as a Fediverse first
Yeah, for
connection.
sure.
It would be great because then you are this, and this is another good thing about the Fediverse. Even small players, they have access to this giant number of users.
Distribution. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So if
Yeah.
you build
I'll
that,
look into it. I
yeah,
have absolutely no clue. I haven't used it personally myself, so I will
yeah,
have to
it's very
use
cool.
it.
And when you
All right.
really understand it, it's like, wow, everybody should be using this. And it's getting this steam now. Things are moving faster. I think it's going to be hard until Google or Facebook. I mean, Facebook said that they are only adding it to threads, but if maybe Facebook in the future or YouTube, or they start adding that, that would change everything forever. And the
Yes.
way things are going with all this regulation, maybe they will be forced to do something like that. So
Hmm.
I think it's a good place to be. I really enjoy the conversations and everything I'm having there. So we
Correct.
moved super away from voice note, but in the end we
No,
connected
that's
everything.
fascinating. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you for your time. I'm so glad that you made time to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Really enjoy this
Uh,
conversation.
Great. See you.
All right. Take care.